Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Keenan. We've got Dylan Vanas with us today, and got this dude in here. Serial entrepreneurs, rocking some businesses, doing some cool stuff into the marketing space, has software from marketing agencies as well, and has a big subscription base there. I think you were just telling me you got over 5,000 subscribers or clients over there, which is not an easy feat whatsoever. You do a lot with personal branding, and overall, you're just into self-development, just like I am. So, man, with that being said, I welcome you to Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast, and just excited to rock it out with you here today.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the marketing agency. So like, here's the deal. My opinion, at least. Okay. Marketing is a very broad term, and there's so many different aspects and so many niches within marketing. So with that being said, where does your marketing agency really, like, what's the niche? What's the area that you guys are focused on, and how are you helping people the most?
So, dude, I got started out in the real estate marketing space years ago. I was like, what's the fastest way to build wealth? And I was looking at billionaires. I'm like, like 20-something-year-old Dylan. I'm just like, all right, like what's the way to become successful? And like the one thing every billionaire has in common is they have real estate. So I was like, I don't think I can becoming a real estate agent. You're going to be like 6 months, like eating ramen noodles before you make it. And so it's like, what's an alternative? I was like, well, what if I like found a way to get leads for real estate agents, home builders, and stuff like that? And so this way I can earn while I learn, right? I can get paid to do it. And then I can kind of pick up real estate stuff. And one thing led to another. And then all of a sudden I'm, making 20 grand a month, and I got all these clients. I'm like, what the heck? Like, why do I need real estate now?
Right.
So that was about 7 years ago. And then over time, the industry's changed, marketing has changed, and I kind of saw that there's this area where, I was going to business conferences, see the speakers on stage, and I had this question in the back of my mind. I'm like, how do I become the guy that's on the stage instead of the guy in the audience? And there was one thing that all of them had that I didn't at the time, which was a personal brand. And so I was like, so when I say personal brand, it's like someone who creates content, they have a following, that they're actually branding themselves as an individual, not just doing their companies behind the scenes.
Right.
And then, so for me, I was like, let me crack the code on this. And so I started to do that. And I've been making content on social media for probably 4 years now. My podcast has 40,000 subscribers. Between all my pages and all my stuff, I probably have 2 or 3 million followers across all the channels. So I kind of figured it out, and other people are coming to me like, Dylan, how can I do this now?
Yeah.
Right. And so then I started selling that as a service, building people's brands, helping them grow their following, helping them craft the story, getting them featured in the media, getting them on stages, podcasts, all that stuff. So that's what we really specialize in. That's how I help people. And the cool thing about it is I get to work with typically high net worth individuals who've already had success, and now they're like on to the next chapter of their life. How can I serve? How can I contribute? How can I give back? And it's not really about the money for either of us, right? Me or them. It's about how do we drive purpose behind these individuals and help them share their story with the world.
Yeah. So it's awesome, man. I really think it's good stuff. Here's the question I have for you, though, right? So from a branding perspective, and I think that this is a fallacy I find with a lot of people, even my clients who come in and work with us at Step It Up Academy, which we do, high level one-to-one coaching, group coaching, and we have a mastermind as well. But a lot of the clients who I have come in, and they may have established businesses in the service-based industry doing millions a year, but they've neglected that whole personal brand, or they feel as if they're not worthy of the personal brand, or I haven't accomplished enough to go out there and put the personal brand together, where I call bullshit on it, because I think everyone should have a personal brand from day one, right? And you are your brand. It is what it is. But what do you think is the biggest piece there, where most of the entrepreneurs or successful people that you're working with, what are they missing when it comes to personal brand?
The first barrier that people have to break through is that, well, you just called it either imposter syndrome or the denial. I don't need to do it. I don't want to do it. And have to realize that you do need to do it, or at least someone in your company has to do it. Because it's not a coincidence that the biggest companies in the world also have the biggest personalities behind them, right? Tesla has Elon Musk, Apple had Steve Jobs, and then Amazon has Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, right? Like, I don't think it's a coincidence. But the interesting thing is, if you go look at these companies' followings on social media, the individual always has more followers than the brand. Why? Personalities, personal brands, people, it's much more sticky, and more relatable than a brand. I don't care what Home Depot is posting, but
Right.
the CEO of Home Depot, I'm interested in what he has to say.
Yeah.
So for that reason, every company needs a spokesperson. And it's the best thing to do is if you're going to be investing money into building someone up, it might as well be you, the founder of the company or the CEO, because Gary Vee is a perfect example. He's morphed and changed, and Gary Vaynerchuk, obviously, he started Wine Library. He was selling wine, then NFTs, has an agency. It's like, it doesn't matter what the guy's doing. He can just promote it from his social media. So get over that threshold of like, I don't need it. And then move into the place, which the next thing people usually are faced with is like, well, what are the people that, the girl from college that I had a crush on, what's she going to think when I start posting these videos? Or my grandma is going to follow me if I'm posting 4 times a day. And that's, I believe that when you're faced with resistance, that's even more reason to go through it, right? Don't go around it. And so those are just limiting beliefs that come in, and you need to handle those.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that anyone who decides to take on the challenge of like really dialing in the personal brand, anyone that wants to, get a voice, become active. And like you said, same situation for me. I was once that guy who was going to the conferences, the events, and saying, hey, how do I get up there and do that? And just like you, now the roles are reversed, and I am the guy who's coming up there and doing the speaking. But what did I have to do in order to get there? Right. And one of those things was getting uncomfortable doing shit like this right here. You asked me to do this 10 years ago, and dude, I would have turtled up like an ingrown dick. Gone. Like I wouldn't have done it. Like it just wasn't in my wheelhouse. And the first couple of times that you're a podcast guest, whether you're a host or a guest, it's uncomfortable. But after a while, dude, all it is a conversation with 2 dudes or 2 people, right? Worst case scenario, this talk goes sideways and we don't push it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, cool. But on the flip side of things, it's like, what are the potential positives that we can get out of this relationship or this interaction, this conversation, right? And you and I don't know what that's going to be. And the cool thing about it, in my opinion, is it usually never happens right away. It may happen 2 years from now. It may happen 18 months from now. It may happen, I don't know, whenever the hell it's going to happen. But you know how it's going to happen? This is me basically telling the universe exactly how it's going to happen. 2 years from now, you and I are going to show up because we both got asked to speak at the same event. And you'll be like, oh, I know you. We had a conversation when we had a podcast. Oh, shit, that's right. We did. And boom, something's going to come of it, right? Like those are the kind of things that happen when you decide to get uncomfortable, when you decide to put your name out there, you decide to go out there and open your mind, speak your voice. But you have to be aware that you're going to get some pushback from the naysayers, the friends and family. Like it's part of the process. I talk about it a lot, man. Like this thing is real. It's called the drop off. You start getting a little vocal, a little active. You start getting some success in your life. And all of a sudden, the people that were once on your level are dropping off like flies because they can't hang with you anymore. And it's not that they can't hang. They choose not to. And it hurts their feelings inside because you're exposing to them the possible potential that they have inside themselves. Yet most of them are too fucking lazy to do a thing with it.
Yeah, I had a mentor of mine years ago. He's like, Dylan, relationships, it's like this. There's 2 people, and it's like an elastic. The relationship is the elastic band around it, right? One person's growing, and that band is either going to drag the person with you, they're going to drag you back, or the band snaps.
Yep.
And for that reason, I've outgrown social circles, like groups of friends, like my crew, like multiple times, and it freaking sucks, dude. My friends are hitting me up to grab a beer, and I'm like, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like let's talk shop about business. Let's go, let's go read some books. Let's go hit the gym. Let's go for a hike. Like let's do some positive stuff. I'm not just going to sit around and play Call of Duty with you. Right. And then they start hating on me. It's like, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. Like I want to be friends with you, but you're just not at that level.
Yeah. You start getting the crap, oh, you're too good for us now.
Yeah. Or you don't respond to my text. It's like, dude, I get like 250 texts a day. Yeah. I'm not trying to respond to you. I just didn't see it.
Yeah, and it's you can't explain that to someone who's never experienced it, right? You just can't. How old are you, bro?
29.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna be 44 in a couple weeks.
Okay.
And here's my piece of advice I'm going to give you, because I've been through it like more than I've ever expected, and a lot more so over the last 12 to 16 months than I ever expected either. If you think you're done with the drop off, and people exiting your life because you've outgrown them, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. Like in this past year of my life, I've continued to have more dropout, more so than I ever thought possible. And part of me is like, you hurt a little bit about it because this is maybe somebody who is very important to the overall journey or something, real special to your life. But at the same point in time, you understand and realize that I know in order for me to get to where I told the world that I really want to go and do the things I want to do, that I can't bring everyone along with me because it'll exhaust you. Right. So you understand both sides of the coin. So just be aware of it. And when it does show up, because it's going to again, just, know it's part of the process.
It's interesting. Me and my girl were my buddy had a party on Tuesday, actually, his birthday party. And we have this one like couple friend, right? Where she's friends with the girl, I'm friends with the guy.
Yeah.
And we hang out with them for a couple years. And they keep saying to us, and they're wildly successful. Dude's making $300-400K a month. Like, he's crushing it. He's quite well known. And he said to us, he's like, you guys are going to outgrow us. Because my girl's in the music industry. She hustles. Like, she works just as hard as I do, 14-hour days. She's grinding, and I do the same thing. Yeah. And he's reached this level where he's like, he's happy, he's content. And while when I met him, he was further along than me. He knows that, we're passing through that threshold now, and we will. And it's like, it's weird when, someone that, it's just weird to me. It's like, and some people don't have that ambition or that constant, like, I'm like, dude, you could be so much more. Mm-hmm. He's like, nah, I just want to travel, make money. Like, I'm like, dude, I don't get it. But,
what, man, in my opinion, you have to be okay with letting other people be okay with where they're at. Because, I'll never decide for another person, another human being, like, hey, this is, you have to get to this level. Hey, if you're content, if you hit a point where you're comfortable and it is what it is for you, cool. It's not worth my effort and energy to keep pushing you or dragging you along with me.
I think that it's interesting that some, like, I used to look at like cashiers that go into the grocery store. I'd be like, I feel bad for this person, like the cashier working there. And then when I started to evolve as an entrepreneur, I've got over 100 employees now. And I'm like, I understand there's some guys and girls, they just want to show up. They want to make their 3K. They want to go home, and that's it. And I'm like, all right, like, and there's a place for that. I used to, I also do education as well, just like you. And on my end, I was like, quit your job. You don't need a boss. And I like look at my employees. I'm like, except you guys, like, you guys need a boss. You need a job. But realizing that everyone's on their own journey in life, and what I want isn't real for everyone else. For everyone else, it's like has allowed me to, I think, be more honest with myself, and also respect people in the world. Like, not look down on someone because they're choosing a path, and just knowing, hey, that's their life.
Yeah. It's funny. You got to be careful sometimes talking like, hey, and I totally get it. Right. And I'm with you for the most part. It's like, hey, you entrepreneurship's the way to go. But like you said, you got a team of people. You have 100 people who you employ, or over 100 people at this point. And you've got to be careful with some of the messaging and the communication that's going out. If you're telling the world over here, your potential clients, your leads, whatever, hey, entrepreneurship is the only way to go. Meanwhile, you've got all these people working for you. It's kind of like, you biting off the hand that feeds you. So has anything from that situation, or have you gotten any flack from your team because of that kind of stuff going out? Or is it any obstacles you've had to overcome there with the team because of it?
Yeah, dude, I got into business for freedom. We had the 4-hour work week, and I'm like, let's rock and roll. I'm down for this. And when I started, and I think I had my first 6-figure like take home month. I'm like, I'm on the lake, I'm chilling. I'm like, it's good. And then something changed, and I was like, let me go all in and try to make something cool. Like making cash is good, all that stuff. But what if I could, build jobs, create value, create cool software, and so I started doing that. And it's 4 years later, I'm like looking at my life, I'm like, holy shit, how did I go from like the ultimate mission was freedom to now I'm like I have an office space. Like I feel weird if I'm not here like 40, 60 hours a week. I want to show the team like I'm grinding. And it's like that wasn't the mission. So for me, it's like, it's weird because also I'm inspiring my employees, like freedom was like one of the core values. Sure. And like freedom. And I'm like, you guys want to go start a side hustle on the side? Like I'm all for it. But what happens now? This person's they're thinking about their side hustle during their work week, and it's like it was just this weird dynamic. And now I don't. It's so weird. It's like I want people to be successful, but I also am finding like I want to encourage these people to be successful inside my organization. Let me build up entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so now the shift that we've done, just to finish up this thought, is that I now create little areas within the organization that they can take ownership of. They can see the profit and loss. They can see how much their juniors are earning. And then they get a rev share for that area. And that way they can still have freedom. They can still be entrepreneurial, but it still is benefiting the overall mission.
Yeah. They still have the security of working for an organization, right? Which is where I think a lot of people definitely make a mistake, right? Because here's the harsh reality that most people aren't willing to accept. And some people aren't willing to say it either. Not everyone is cut out to be a business owner. It's just the facts, right? This shit is not easy. And like, I'm sure you and I can go over here and tell stories for the next 2 hours about some of the shitty situations we've been through, some of the obstacles we've had to overcome in order to keep this title business owner or entrepreneur, right? And it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It just isn't. And I think that a lot of people come in, they see the highlight reel of social media, right? They see the highlight reel of all that kind of stuff and some of the wins that people are having. And they think, oh, magically, I'm going to go in, I'm going to start this business. And a week later, I'm going to make all this money and I'm going to gain this elusive freedom. And it's just not the way it is, in my opinion. Can it happen? Sure it can. But the reality of it is just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. There's a lot that goes in behind the scenes. And look, when you start small, like I'll be honest, like when I was making $20K a month, like it's exciting. Life is easy. Like I got a couple clients, like it's all good. But when the threshold gets higher, like also the bullshit gets higher. The first lawsuit comes, the first, bullshit complaint online, whatever it is. Right. And that stuff comes in and it's like, then I'm learning how to handle this stuff. And there's no playbook for this, like, especially in the digital era. Like, as we're talking, I'm looking up and I love the title of your book, by the way. That's awesome. I remember the first person to put fuck in a book was, what was it called? It was like the marketing one, the orange one. Anyways. And I was like, this is awesome stuff, but no one's building the playbook for step 5, 6, 7, 8. I talk to my girl about this all the time. We're like, you can't Google these problems. Like WikiHow doesn't have a solution for this. So what do? Well, you need good friends, mentors, teams, like, conversations like this. But at the end of the day, you also have to follow your intuition. You have to have a little bit of faith and just like take a leap of faith. But it's lonely sometimes when you're dealing with shit and all the weight's on you as the business owner. It's not just the Lamborghinis and mansions that people flash online.
You're right, man. It is lonely for sure at moments. And there's times where it's not. There's definitely times where you feel like, hey, man, I've got nobody I can have a conversation with around this. And that's one of the reasons that Step It Up Academy was founded, right? Because I've had those thoughts and I've also been in situations like, hey, there's no one around my home base who I can go and grab right now and have a conversation with, who's not going to look at me sideways when I tell them, hey, we're making 40, 50, 100 grand a month and it's not enough. What do you mean it's not enough? Well, because expenses are this, right? And most people think, oh, you're making all this money, then you're just raking all this in. Lawsuits, right? You have a past employee who files a lawsuit on you or files workman's comp, right? There's not many people who understand that from the business owner's perspective, who can give you solid, unemotionally attached advice based upon their third-party perspective. Right. And that's, to me, that's one of the reasons why we join masterminds and we find mentors and we find other people who are doing things in this crazy game called business and entrepreneurship, because there's not many people out there who can relate to some of the challenges that we're going to face.
What's the best mentor mastermind community that you've ever been a part of?
There's a couple. I'll talk freely about them because I'm not involved in either of them anymore. The first one, talk about marketing. You'll laugh when I tell you this, probably. I don't know what tools you're running and doing clients marketing and stuff with. Going back now, I don't know, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, got to a point in my company where like, hey, we got to start implementing systems, processes, automations, and we got to just start communicating better. Right. So go down this whole self-development journey, start to learn a lot about business and implementing back-end systems processes. I hired a coach at the time and he goes, hey, you need a CRM. And my first words to him were, what the hell is a CRM? Tell you where my mindset was at the time. So find out what a CRM is. It's customer relationship management software, by the way, for those who don't know. And he's like, hey, these are a couple of good ones that are out there. You should take a look into these and see what you got. So one of the ones on his list was Infusionsoft, which is now known as Keep. And I decided to buy into Infusionsoft and roll it out. It was the first software I ever implemented into my last service-based company. And I probably chose the hardest motherfucker on the planet to work with. It was definitely difficult, but I tell you that because it also got me heavily involved in their community for support aspects. So I wound up going to, they had a 2-day or 3-day training at their facility that we wound up doing. And from a leadership perspective, it was amazing training. I still leverage it to this day with my current clients and even how I'm running some of the back end stuff as far as processes and structure in my own company now. But the community there served even after we had gone and paid our money to be there for the 2 or 3 days. The other stuff that I've done over the last couple of years, I was heavily involved over at Break Free Academy, Apex Mastermind. Started there as a client, came on as a coach, and then when I moved here from New York, I was asked to come on board as the COO of the company, and I did that for about 20 months. So got a lot of experience there, learned a ton while I was there, met some really good people, also met some really shitty people, right? That's just part of the experience. But I'm very grateful for my time spent in both organizations because of some of the people that I met, connected with, and most importantly, some of the knowledge that's been shared by others that has helped me grow. And not just in business, but I don't know if people understand this, but if you're going to grow your business, you also have to grow yourself, right? They go hand in hand. And a lot of the people that I've met over the years and some of the stuff that's, really helped me out has come from these organizations. And a lot of the information that's helped me the most hasn't necessarily been from the guy who's making the most money. It comes from the person who's achieved something in their life that I want to personally achieve. So, dude, like for instance, I got involved in some of these organizations going back, I don't know, 2016, 2017-ish. And I was my physicality was completely different at that point in time. I was 315 pounds, didn't take care of myself, ate like shit, and was drinking beer every night. Whereas now, like, I don't drink at all, right? Similar to you, like that ship sailed in my life. It's not that I'm against it. It's just not for me at this point in time, right? Here I am in front of you today. I weighed in this morning, 272 pounds. I'm a big guy. I'm tall. 272 pounds, literally in the best shape of my life. And I feel fucking great. And if it wasn't for me getting involved in these communities and meeting people who were also successful in these areas of life, I wouldn't be successful in my health and fitness now. And I will tell you that when I started to dial in my health and fitness, the business world also got better.
Yeah, I say there's no such thing as a compartmentalized life, right? Meaning you can't say, you can't have shitty relationship, can't treat your kids like shit. You can't ignore them. And then business is good. Eventually it's going to catch up. Now, certain things have different reactions. So, for example, relationships, marriages, for example, it's more delayed. You're not going to see the impact of it until one day you come home, there's a different guy in the bed, and it's because you haven't been there for your significant other. But that's going to happen 3, 4, 5 years after you start. But in business, if you fuck up, you're going to see it that month. Like, you're going to see the reaction. Financials very quick. And so that's why I think it is important. For me, I had a rocky year and a half with health. I'm back. I'm trending in the right direction now, but I let shit fall because there was so much other stuff happening, and I'm like trying to hold things down. But in order to handle stuff properly in life, we need to like regroup and organize, and everything has to be good. And I know that when my health is solid, it's like the foundation of everything else.
No, totally. My experience with health and business is this, right? We're hard chargers. We move at 100 miles an hour. Business comes first. The business, something happens, we're there and we handle it. And even if that requires us skipping a healthy meal or going to the gym that day, like, oh, business, I got to go handle this first. It's all excuses and bullshit, right? You do that long enough, what's going to wind up happening is that you're going to get shoulder tapped by the universe or God, whatever the fuck it is you believe in. Okay. Dude's going to come over and shoulder tap you and be like, hey man, it's time for you to sit down and take a break. Nah, I can't do that right now. Got 100 things going on. Got to move. Got a deadline on this. Told this client we promised them this by this date. And homeboy's going to come. He's going to shoulder tap you again the next day. Hey, man, you gotta sit down and take a break. Right. And you're like, yeah, man, fuck off. I don't have time for that shit. The third time, he's going to come along and he's going to put his boot up your ass and sit your ass down for you. Mm-hmm. And now that comes in the form of my personal experience. Okay. Because I've been down this road a couple of times. It came in the form of multiple herniated discs in the lower back. It's come in the form of acute diverticulitis, which literally wipes me out and puts me in a fetal position on a bed or a couch for 3 fucking days before I have enough energy to get up and go see a doctor. Right. So if you don't listen to the smaller signs, it's going to come back and wipe you out. And it's always going to be at the worst fucking time possible. So
there's a book I read years ago, one of the first personal development books. There's like one of one of my first mentors. He's like, Dylan, if you want create like worth $100 million. And at the time I'm like, this is amazing. This guy's amazing. And he's like, Dylan, if you want me to mentor you, I'll give you 5 books to read. You have to write a book report on every chapter, a 3-page book report on every chapter. Give it back to me, because then we speak the same language and we can actually have a real conversation. It was like Think and Grow Rich, Richest Man in Babylon, How to Win Friends. But one of them was called Secrets of the Divine. And it's actually like a Christian book. And the way it worked was, he said, God will first touch you on the shoulder. If you don't listen, he'll shake you a little bit. If you don't listen, he'll push you down. If you don't listen, he's going to knock you down until you're weeping like a baby and you listen to the actual signs. So why not listen to the little tap that God's doing on the shoulder and tune into it and then course correct from there? So that was a cool book for me.
Yeah, I think it's very well said, and definitely a little bit more detailed and elegant than what I said, for sure. But that's my experience with it. Same exact thing. And I think it takes, at least for me, I'm a hard-headed dude, right? I'm the kind of person where if you had told me that, right, cool, I'm still not going to buy it. I'm the one who needs to get shaken, and I need to get my ass sat in the ground for me to really learn the lesson. However, it's taken me about 3 of these incidents across the span of a 20+ year, 30+ year career. I don't want to tell you how old I am. But
I think you said, what do you say?
I actually did say it. God damn it. Yeah. But, for me, just being a hard-headed individual, it's taken multiple lessons like this for me to actually get that lesson like ingrained in the head, so I won't do it anymore. Right. Whereas, and this is the whole point of coaching and masterminds and mentorship, is like the person who's helping you has been through some of the bullshit that you potentially will see. So listen to them when they tell you, AKA listen to the 2 of us right here now. For those of you who listen to the podcast, listen to us tell you to take the signs when it comes to your health and fitness. Because if you don't, it's going to hit you when you least expect it, and it's going to hurt probably 100 times more than it has to.
Yeah. You mentioned something earlier on finding people who have something you want. It's not always about the money. And one of those things is I used to put these mentors and these people that coach me on these pedestals of like this guy's, exactly, like idolizing him. And then the first time I realized like how much everything is bullshit was I went to one of my mentor's house, stayed there for like 3 days. And the things he told me he was doing, waking up at X time, doing X, Y, Z, all the stuff, reading books in the morning, and he wasn't doing. And I was like, this is weird. Like, and it made me realize that, look, there's people in certain areas. I've got billionaire mentors. I've got, friends in this. I own a part of a gym out here because I wanted to associate myself with someone who's in rock solid shape. My partner, a trainer over there. Yep. And so it's like, I kind of collected, instead of trying to find like 1 or 2 people that have it all, like the person in each area that I want to be able to develop for myself, and then align myself with those people. And soon enough, right, if you're spending, if those are your 5 people, you're going to get fit, you're going to get a good relationship, have a good business. And I think that's what really masterminds, coaching, and all that stuff's about is let's just help you with a few different areas in your life. Like, Step It Up Academy. I'm not sure like what you guys focus on. Is it just business?
No, it's not. It's not. I'm glad you asked. So our main focus is an area of business where I think most companies fucking flop and fail, right? And that's in the back end. That's operations, as fulfillment of whatever it is, whatever service or product that they provide. My experience is this, right? Most business owners, hard-charging visionaries, founders, they can figure out the marketing and sales. They can figure out the front end of the house pretty damn well. Cool. They go in, they get the leads, they sell it. But what happens after the sale? Like, what does the fulfillment look like? Are you still proactively communicating with your clients now that they've spent money with you? Right. And my experience is like most customer experience after the purchase isn't all that good. So, okay, what do we do? How can we develop and implement systems and processes and techniques for you to actually go out there and make that happen? Like what does the operational structure of your company look like when it comes to putting together meetings? What's the meeting cadence? Who's involved in the meetings? How often is leadership meeting? Is leadership meeting on-site or off-site? These are all little pieces that make a big difference, especially when it comes into a true company that's going to do some cool things. So that's the main deal of what we're doing. But going back to what you said here as well, and this is my experience. At first, and I find this with employees too, right? And this is generalist versus specialist. I'll use those two words here. When I first went out and started looking for a business coach, I was looking for a generalist who was good in all these areas. When I first started hiring people from my businesses, my companies, I was looking for the generalist who could do a little bit of everything because I didn't have a specific need. I had a generalist need. I needed that admin person who could help put a landing page together, but they could also process someone's credit card. They could also send out a quick email asking for help with X, Y, and Z, right? As we grow and evolve from a business coaching perspective, we need to start looking for the specialist coaches. So for like what you're saying, I need a coach for fitness. I need a coach for finances. I need a coach for, let's say, marketing. I need a coach for mindset. Cool. Go find your people, right? Same deal when it comes to growing and scaling your company. There comes a point in time where you've got to stop hiring generalists and you've got to go out there and start bringing in the specialist on your team. Like, all right, cool. Who is a savage landing page builder? Like, you do nothing else but put landing pages together. Right? You don't do copywriting though. Like, I have someone else for that. Like, I need someone who will dial in this landing page. Okay, cool. I need a graphic designer. I need a social media person on my team. I need a full-blown videographer, right? When you start hiring these specialists, yes, does it cost you more money? Sure it does, because they're better quality people. But the quality of your company, the quality of what's being executed within your company should also go up at the same time.
Mm. Yeah, when I was getting started, I'd have like one freelancer who would do 4 or 5 things, and then sometimes people ask like when do I switch, like when do I actually hire someone? And for me, it's when you're consistently bringing enough revenue in where you're basically paying that person. You'd be making more money by hiring someone, but it has to be consistent. So for example, if I'm paying per project to a freelancer $500 a month for every account that we bring on, let's say for social media content or something, well, I could hire someone for $4,000. So I need 8 accounts that are consistent in order to break even. So probably around 9 or 10 accounts is when I'd hire someone. Yep. But the thing that doesn't include is the fact that what you're saying, which is if I'm hiring someone who's specialized in that thing, they're probably going to do a better job. And you're so right. Like the amount of terrible experiences. In fact, I just started a portion of my agency now where we're doing software development, like true, like real building people's software for your companies. Cause I paid an agency $250,000 and for like a base MVP product. And what they delivered was ass. And I was like, I can do this better. So I hired the people, built the team, and now I'm going to provide a kick-ass development experience because there's a lot of crappy software agencies out there.
Yeah, dude, I love that, man. That I've heard that story over and over and over again. I got a gentleman I know, older guy, super successful dude, like doesn't need the money kind of deal. He was telling me a story a couple of years ago. He went to buy some commercial real estate and had a terrible experience with the broker. And they kind of got into words, and the broker says to him, hey, well, if you don't like the experience here and you think you can do better, go buy your own damn agency and or your own brokerage and figure it out yourself. So he did exactly that. Matter of fact, he went out and he bought 4 real estate brokerages in different areas and put together a savage ass team and absolutely crushes it in that space now. So be careful with who you threat with those kind of actions as well.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know about you, but when people the principle of things is sometimes stronger than anything else. And if someone's coming in and they're trying to screw me over or do some shit, it's like you have to draw the line. It's like, okay, I'm going to spend how much money to get back at this person? It's like, okay, that's not worth it. But most of the time it's like, I want to do right by my customers. So I love that that's kind of the mission and the purpose of what you're doing with Step It Up. Cause a lot of people struggle with that. It's like, I'm going to wine and dine you until I swipe your card. And then after that, you're lucky to get an email from me.
Yeah, no, man. We really, communication is a core value of mine, not just personally, but also professionally. Any company that I'm involved with, any company that I'm running, that I own, it's going to be one of the core values. So for us, proactive communication is key. So we just try to practice what we preach, and we also try to educate our clients on, like, hey, this is how we believe it should be done. Obviously, you can go make your own version of it, but how can you take some of the things that we've implemented here in this company and then go implement them in your company to make your experience better with your customers, make your experience better when you onboard a new employee or team member? So that's really what it's about. Like, we want to pass along this knowledge that we've gained in 20 plus years of being a business owner. And it's not just me, it's people on my team too, because everyone who's on my team, one of the requirements is you have to be an entrepreneur, right? Like, I want other business owners working with me and for me, because they're going to understand the challenges that our customers face.
So are you bringing on like full-time people then that are also have like their own thing on the side, or what's the?
So everyone who's on my team right now is a contractor. So they're not full-time, which is great. It fits the model for what we do, right? We do one-to-one coaching, right? We've got we got 3 coaches on the team, myself included. We've got operations director as well. And I got a couple of VAs who help support things. And it's the perfect mix for what we're doing, because even if a client gets on the phone and it's not with me and they speak to one of my coaches, and by the way, all of my coaches have come through my program as well, so they understand the way that we want things done, right? They have real perspective from someone who's still in the trenches of business ownership and entrepreneurship, right? It's not somebody who's like, oh yeah, I owned a business for about a year and it didn't work, and now I'm over here and I've got this title of coach. Like, no. No, like, we need someone who's relevant and who's still doing it.
Got it. Yeah, it makes sense. We've got in my agency incubator, right? We help people who run agencies. Mm-hmm. We've got 6 coaches, besides me. I jump on every now and then, but all but one of them are people that have been successful agency owners before. They came through my program, and one of the guys making millions of dollars. Another one, one of the girls, she's at like 30 or 40K a month, but they've been through the shoes of the people that are coming through the program. And they're able to share what's working and be real about it. And they're doing it now. One of the things that I hate about education and info and people that sell courses and all this stuff is, like, majority of these people don't do it themselves. They're literally just teaching stuff that either they used to do and doesn't work anymore, so now they got to teach, or they just, like, there's this one, I'm not going to say his name. There's one guy, he notoriously rips people off. He sees someone else doing it, and he just literally makes the course the same thing, makes the content the same thing. He's never done it himself. I'm like, this coaches thing, it's just so BS, and I'm sick of it.
Yeah. You know what? There's I'm going to be very transparent here. Okay. I'm going to call out the coaching industry. I'm going to call out the marketing industry. I'm going to call out the financial industry. Okay. There's 3 industries where I think there is a very low barrier of entry, and there's a lot more people doing damage than there's people doing good. Okay. The first one is the coaching space, because there's no barrier of entry. Anyone can say, oh, I'm a coach. Well, have you actually done anything in your business or your personal life that you can basically put behind it and say, yeah, I've done some cool shit. Second one is marketing. I think a lot of people get to know a little bit about marketing, and all of a sudden they think they can put an agency together and do some amazing things for their clients. And I've seen time and time again, these guys who start this shit up in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months later, they're wiped out and done. And the other one, the last one, and I don't know what your experience is with this, because I've had rough experiences in hiring coaches. I've had rough experiences in hiring third-party marketing agencies. And the final one that I've had a lot of rough experiences with as well is the bookkeeping / CPA space. Now, CPAs, you got to be licensed and whatnot, but you don't need any formal training or documents proving that you're a good bookkeeper, right? And I think that we look at bookkeeping as this entry-level thing. Meanwhile, that's where so much of the finances get fucked up. If the bookkeeper doesn't know what they're doing and isn't entering data correctly, we're talking QuickBooks here, your chart of accounts isn't dialed in, and your line items aren't in the right place. Like, you're never going to know your numbers. And from a business owner's perspective, that's a real dangerous game to play. So, like, there's low barrier of entry in those fields: marketing, coaching, and bookkeeping, right? What can we do to just make those areas better? How can we educate some people? How do we hold standards? How do we just get better people in those spaces? to help elevate all of small business?
Wow. So I had never thought about the finance space, but as you're speaking, I'm like, wow, that's so true. Like, also attorneys. I mean, look, attorneys go through a long process, but you know, if you're ever faced with a legal problem and like speak to, also if you're super green when it comes to legal stuff, you don't know what to ask, what questions to ask, you don't know how to have conversations about it. So you don't even know my first time speaking to attorneys, I didn't even know what, oh, this guy sounds good, like he's cool, whatever. I'm probably a dozen attorneys later, I think I found a couple good ones. But with marketing, I'll speak from it because I have a lot of experience in this field. There was a guy named Ty Lopez who in 2014 created a SMMA course, and basically spun up a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids who wanted to be agency owners. And it's interesting because what happens now, these kids are going, and this is really when like the social media marketing agency wave started happening. And there's all these kids going out there like selling local businesses on a couple grand a month to do shit for them. And they have no idea what to do. So what happens? Someone says, yeah, okay, I'll pay it. I trust you, nephew Jason, or whatever. And then 3 months later, $7 grand in the hole and barely any results to speak for.
No results whatsoever.
So for me, actually, that's why I created an Agency Box originally, my marketing platform, because I was like, well, what's the solution? And so we actually created standardized services that agencies can if an agency is good at one thing, maybe they're good at photography, but they're not good at social media management, web design, ads, whatever. We have a menu of services that they can go in and basically buy from us. It's standardized. We do the fulfillment. They manage the relationship with the client. And that way, at least, there's quality work being done. And it'd be cool if there was that for CPAs. Maybe there's a CPA where there's like the guy who's talking to you and strategizing, consulting, but then someone behind the scenes who's using a standardized process is actually doing the things the right way. You know what? It's an opportunity right there. Right. And hopefully that's not me, by the way. I will not take up on that opportunity. It's not my area. Me neither. So whoever's listening, please. Whoever's listening and who knows their shit in that field, take that and run with it, please, and go create some cool shit and make some money. Yeah, man. Dude, this has been awesome. I love what you're doing. You got a good head on your shoulders, and I think the content that you're sharing and the way that you want to help people is amazing. With that being said, tell us where we can find you. My website, dylanvanas.com. If you want to connect with me personally, I see pretty much everything on Instagram, DYLANVANAS on Instagram. So shoot me a message, come say what's up. I'm more than happy to help. And if you get in front of me, you're going to get as much energy and time as I can possibly give when I'm there, when we're connecting. So love it, man. Appreciate you coming on the show today. And I look forward to get this released and get some good content out there with you. And of course, my team's going to share this with you, and we'll get it out in the socials. We'll promote the hell out of it and hopefully positively impact some people. Good. Thanks for having me on. Thanks, man.
Thank you for tuning in to the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast. Make sure you head over to stepitupentrepreneur.com and make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast.